Hello Sangha, welcome to day 4 of our 31 days of practice. It's really simple, the practice of yoga in some ways. You know, when I teach in the rehabs, I only have an hour sometimes with those guys and I may never see them again. So I have to go over what we're doing. And basically what we're doing is we're thinking about our movement and trying to move a bit more effectively. We're thinking about our breath, trying to breathe more efficiently and more smoothly and maybe slightly elongate our breath. And we're also watching our mind, you know. Those are the 3 things, you know, watching the thoughts that come up, the patterns that come up. So movement, breath and mind. My yoga teacher's first book was called Yoga for Body, Breath and Mind. It's a really good book if you're looking for a little further reading, a little more study into yoga. Okay, we're going to do some joint mobilization today. Nothing too heavy today. This is a nice session maybe to repeat before if you're going to go do something a bit more physical, just to get your body warmed up. So we'll start lying on our back. And we'll just reach your fingers towards the sky, okay? And let your shoulders thud down into the ground. And just give your fingers a little bit of a shake off, your wrists a little bit of a shake off. Okay, taking that into your forearms, into your elbows, your upper arms and your shoulders. Okay, and then bring up your toes, give your toes a little shake off, into your ankles, into your lower legs, into your knees, into your upper legs, and then everything together. Okay, so it's a bit like like a bug lying on its back. Okay, and then hug your knees towards you. From there, let your left foot come flat on the floor and hug your right knee a bit closer toward your chest. And think about the toes of your right foot and try and spread them as wide as possible and then squeeze them together. Spread them and squeeze them, spread them and squeeze them, okay? And then let them open and start to circle your foot around, making as big a circle with your big toe as possible. Try not let the knee get too involved. Sometimes I see this. Okay, let your knee relax and rest and make this circle in one direction and then start to circle in the opposite direction. Try and make the circles as pronounced, as large as possible. And then relax your foot and try and let the whole of your right leg relax and start to make circles with your knee. Making the circles a little bit wider, and then maybe taking your left hand away so you can really make the circles wider. Still keeping the leg fairly relaxed. And then full circles with no hands supporting it, really using your leg actively, working as wide into your hip as possible. And then take both hands around your knee. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, bring your nose towards your knee. Let your head come back down. Clasp your hands behind your right thigh. Start to circle your foot again, but this time as you circle it, start to elevate it towards the sky too. Okay, maybe bringing your head a bit closer to that leg. Good, and then bend your knee and hug it in towards you. Reach for your foot with your left hand and just bring that across your chest. So all these ways of just opening the joints of our body, just maybe circling this around. A few clicks and pops in my knees to do this, so trying to keep making the movement till the clicks stop a little bit and then shake it off, okay? Take your right foot down, bring your left knee up towards you. Take both hands around your left knee. Spread your toes, squeeze your toes, spread your toes, squeeze them. So almost like you're making your foot into a fist if it was your hand. Spread them and squeeze them. And then start to make circles with your toes quite relaxed, making as wide a circle as you can with your big toe. Working into your ankle joint and then change the directions of that. Seeing how that feels for you today or this evening. And then relax your foot and try and let that relaxation spread through the rest of your leg, and then start to circle your knee. So the movement is happening in your hip. And you can take your right hand away and start to increase the size of the circles. Again, try and keep your leg as fairly relaxed as you can. And then go a bit wider still by taking your left hand away, working into this a little bit more. And when you finish this one, bring your knee back towards your chest, take your hands around it, take an inhale, and exhale, bring your nose towards your knee. Let your head rest back down. Clasp your hands behind your thigh and start to circle your foot up towards the sky. Maybe bringing your head up closer to your leg if that's something that feels good for you as you do this. And we're drawing our legs slightly over. We're not forcing, we're not fighting, okay? And then bend your knee again. Keep your left hand on your left knee, but reach for your foot with your right hand and draw it across, making circles like we did on the other side. So we've worked a little bit into our knees, our feet, our toes, our ankles. Hug both knees up towards you. Let's start taking the movement into our lower back. So walk your pelvis away from your head, side to side. Let your left foot come to rest, long. Take your left hand outside your right knee slightly and use that to bring your right knee over to the left. So into our hip a bit more, into our lower back. And then back to the center. Straighten your right leg, bring your left knee towards you, hug it in. Take your right hand outside your left knee, left arm out wide, and let it come over. See how that feels. And bring everything to the center and hug them towards you. So in the winter, when everything's a little stiffer, a little tighter, really take your time with some of these movements, okay? Roll yourself out to whatever side you feel like. Push into the floor and come up to a seated position. We're going to keep with the mobilization. So let your fingers start to move around, okay? So these fingers that do so much for us, that allow us to write, to bake, to caress, everything we do with our fingers and our hands. And start to move into your wrists. It's funny, like when everybody I know knows that I really love working with feet, and so people send me stuff with feet all the time. I've said that before, but it's really funny. People send me people doing engineering with their feet, doing the laundry with their feet, because your feet can really do the job of your hands if we need them to. Okay, let them get nice and loose. Okay, so, and then take your wrists or your hands together and make this kind of movement. Try and make one hand a bit more dominant and the other wrist really soft and responsive to what's happening with the other hand. Okay, so you probably, if you're right-handed, use your right hand first. Okay, if you're left-handed, your left hand first. See if you can switch that around. Okay, so your right hand, if you're right-handed, becomes less dominant, your left hand more dominant, and it's a bit more clunky for me for sure. Okay, so that's into the wrist. We want to get into the elbows, so bring your arms up and start to make circles with your forearms, working into your elbow joint here. Good, and then change that direction. And quite quickly you'll realise your arms are quite heavy. Maybe feel it in your shoulders a bit. So just do as many circles into your elbows as feel good for you. And then once you've done that, we're going to get into our shoulders by placing our fingers on our shoulders and make circles with our elbows and our upper arms this time. So really trying to get into that part of our body, changing the direction of the circles. Good. And then a little bit more with the shoulders. Take your arms wide into cactus arms and let them come together. Take them wide, let them come together. Take them wide, let them come together. Okay. And then shake it off, okay? So we've still got a bit more to do. We're going to do a lot of the areas we've covered already, a bit more in our spine, okay? So bring yourself to standing position. Let your feet point forward, okay? And from there, what we're going to do is just let our upper spine open up slightly backwards into extension and then slightly forward into flexion, okay? So try that movement. Letting your hips go forward, your shoulders go back, and then your shoulders go forward and your hips go back. And then within this, if you do it more slowly, you'll notice a point where you're really in balance, where you're really in line with gravity. So see if you can find that point. Maybe you stop and you just go a little slower and you make it more and more subtle till you find this really long, light position for your body. My teachers really encourage us to try and find lightness in our movement, okay, and lightness in our asana practice. Okay, so from there, what we're going to do is put our weight through our right foot and bring your big toe to rest. Now, sometimes this is easier if you wear trainers. And try and let everything in your lower leg relax and circle your opposite knee. So you're circling your left knee, trying to let everything in your foot and your ankle become floppy. Again, maybe trainers give you a little bit more grip. If you're doing it on a carpet or a yoga mat, there might be enough grip through that for your big toe. And then change directions. Okay. And then weight on your left foot. Big toe on the other side, okay? Making your circles. Really try and let everything in your lower leg be soft and relaxed. So the movement is coming from the knee. Okay. And change the directions. So simple practice today, right? But useful, you know, especially if you're going to go and do something with your body, especially if it's winter. Not winter here. Well, maybe this is their winter. For a Scottish person, it's an odd winter. And then bring your feet closer together, okay? Once you've got that circling through both sides, bring your hands on your knees and start to make circles with your knees. Trying to mobilize the joints of your knees, okay? Good, and then change direction with that. Maybe 10 times each direction. Okay. And then come back towards the center and lengthen all the way up. Go a little bit wider with your feet, let your hands rest on your hips. And now just start to circle your hips around. But what we're trying to do here is not let our head get thrown around by the movement in our hips. Okay. Try and make these circles fairly wide, fairly long, and change direction. Okay. Good. And one last time. I keep trying to make sure that there's no naked Germans in the shot. There's a lot of naked Germans here. So I'm hoping that there's not any walking behind me, but you never know, okay? Clasp your hands towards your heart. Take an inhale, lift a little bit taller. As you exhale, take your fingers forward, okay? Push your palms out towards the front, and then inhale your hands up. And again, maybe slightly forwards and backwards, okay? And then maybe side to side, just opening up one way, opening up the other way, Seeing how that feels for you. Maybe getting a little bit deeper each time you do it. Good. Keep a lightness in your spirit, a smile on your face. Good. And then release your hands, clasp them behind your back. Draw your fingers towards the floor. And you'll lift up your chest. And exhale, let your body come all the way forward towards your thighs, taking your fingers away from your lower back. Letting the weight of them bring them away from you if you can. Bring them back down on your lower back. Hug your knees towards you. Put your fingertips on the floor. Bend both knees and sink all the way down towards the ground. Taking a few slow breaths here. Okay. Good. Maybe come back up into Uttanasana and then back down into Malasana. Try that a few times. So we extend and open up through the legs and then we drift down into squat position. Okay, one last time. Taking your hips up, taking your hips down, taking your hands behind. When your hips come down, maybe rolling onto your hips. And then find your seated position for today. Now, when I say find your seated position each day, you don't have to be seated. If you want to lie on your back and do these exercises, lie on your back. Sitting's hard, you know. It's not the easiest thing for people to do. But if you can gradually learn and adapt your sitting, then it's a nice position for your body to be in, okay? So once you've found whatever position you want to be in, lying on your back, or in a seated position, even using a wall behind you, or sitting on a seat, just try and keep this solid centre, but soften everything, whether it's into the ground if you're lying on your back, or into your hips and your legs if you're seated. But use that ground, that stability, to really rest into. And if you're seated, to lengthen out of, okay? If you're on your back, soften more and more. Everything you can give to the earth, everything you surrender, the support comes back. So allowing yourself to surrender more, feeling the support, feeling this letting go. Of tension and resistance. And spend the final minute or so noticing the sensations on your skin. So maybe the texture of your clothing against your skin, maybe the air or the cool air on the unclothed parts of your skin. And whenever you want to move your fingers or toes, you can move your fingers or toes. you want to lengthen through your body, either from a seated position or a lying position. And if you want to bring yourself where your eyes are open, you feel more connected, take your time to do that. So it's quite early in the morning here. I've already had some practice, but I really feel like if everybody began their day with just some gentle movement, connecting to their breath, noticing themselves, the world would be a more peaceful place. You know, I feel, Mohanji says yoga is a peace movement, and I really feel like that because it gives you a groundedness and a peacefulness that we'll talk about ahimsa and non-violence in the coming days. But there's just this real solidness that it gives you to not get so uptight about what's going on in the rest of your day. Okay, so thank you for practicing. Have a great day. I look forward to practicing with you tomorrow. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.